How we doing, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. I am your host, Richie, here with my guys, Mr. Ryan Shedd, upstate New York, 49er diehard. We've got my man, Brett Bandick, on his way to Chef Art Smith. That's a working man right there. We've got Mr. Bar None, William Floyd, NCAA champion, as well as Super Bowl 29 champion. Welcome to the panel, sir. Thank you for being here. And that is a beautiful room you got there, sir. Thank you for being here.
Love it.
Thank you,
Thank
you. Appreciate it.
Boy.
How you doing, fellas? Everything good?
Nothing to complain on, man. Everything's good, man. Football's back, so my favorite time of the year. I consider opening weekends for college and pros kind of like a holiday for myself personally. And I know that you're very involved with your alma mater, the Florida State Seminoles. I'm going to let the viewers get here to know a little bit about our guest. High school, you attended Lakewood, St. Petersburg, Florida. College, Florida State University. Won a national title in '93, edging out my favorite team, Notre Dame. But you know what? Congrats to you. We should have never lost to Boston College. Super Bowl 29 champion with a ridiculously talented 49ers team. You are, sir, the last fullback to be drafted in round one. You are the first NFL rookie to score 3 touchdowns in a playoff game and only one of 9 players to win a national title and Super Bowl in consecutive seasons, 1993, 1994. Your 49er career spanned from 94 to 97. Carolina Panthers, not long after their inception, you joined that team. And you got to play for Coach George Seifert quite a bit. Mixed with a little bit of Steve Mariucci, who was a hell of a coordinator before becoming a head coach. Welcome, sir. And anything that you would like to speak on in terms of your football journey, the floor is yours.
Oh, man. No, wow, I just have to thank God for the career I was able to have. I think I was talking to somebody the other day. I think I might have lost 10 games between my high school career and college, or less than that, and then go right into the league with the greatest franchise ever created, the San Francisco 49ers, and able to get a Super Bowl that year, play with some of the greatest players of all time. Had an amazing quarterback in Steve Young, and, of course, Jerry's in the Hall. You have so many other guys on that side that need to be in the Hall, like a Ricky Waters and a Jesse Sapolo. I think Harris Barton, Brett Jones, you look on the other side of the ball where most of those guys that went into the Hall at, like your Dion's, Charles Manns, Richard Dent was on the team that year.
Yeah, Richard Dent was a bad man.
So we had so many amazing players on that football team. Once we figured it out, after getting shellacked a little bit by Philadelphia that game early in the season, they came in the candlestick and took it to us. And I remember going in the next week because I've not been starting. And I was like, George, what's up, man? Why'd y'all pick me first round if y'all not going to let me play? And, just so happened the next week, we go up and play Detroit, losing to them, start getting me more into the offense. We're able to come back and win that game and didn't look back. And so that was a great, great time in my career, being able to go to Lakewood, win, like I said, lose 2 games in high school, think another 4 games in college, and then right at the beginning of my rookie season, only lose those 3 games. So a lot of winning between that time.
You mentioned your teammate Richard Dent. Richard Dent was actually a teammate of Idris's uncle with the '85 Bears.
All right, that's what time.
That
was Peyton. That's Peyton right there, baby.
Yes, sir.
Yes, exactly.
Every once in a while, I get a chance to see Jim McMahon walking around, and how he plays his golf, and it's true. If anybody's ever told you that Jim McMahon is going to do his thing on the golf course and not wear any golf shoes or flip-flops, maybe flip-flops, they tell you the truth. But just a great, great man, great person.
That's awesome. Love to hear that. His uncle's actually Emery Moorhead. His cousin's currently with the Eagles wide receivers.
Oh,
football lineage in Idris's family tree for sure. I did have a question for you regarding your position as a player. Obviously, you were a premier fullback being drafted that high. But I do have a question for you. Number one, I think you might share my sentiment. I hate that the fullback position has kind of been downgraded and almost obsolete in today's NFL. But my question to you, sir, is your thoughts on the running back market in today's NFL. I know that it's affected quite a few superstars like Josh Jacobs, my guy Saquon Barkley. And I feel in a lot of aspects, these running backs are getting treated like cattle. And quite frankly, it's upsetting and it's unfair. I think the CBA has to work more with these young men to be a little more fair about what they can get.
I think so too. I think what's happened is the running back has kind of been devalued for the simple fact that so many of these offenses now use so many multiple running backs. You know, you have 2-3 guys that can get in there and run the ball, and they figure, hey, why spend all this money on one premier player when I can have 3 of them for that price? And I think that's the mentality now. You even look at the fullback position, who's basically obsolete. You know, sometimes I feel like they need to put me in a dictionary up under the word fullback, and like I'm a dinosaur, it's extinct. You know, they'll probably never again, you know, be a first-round fullback. Not under today's market, not under the way
it
goes now. There will not be another NFL fullback anytime soon. So, and especially when you're talking about the Super Bowl coach, who I respect tremendously, and Andy Reid, talking about the fullback and not really having it in his offense anymore. So a lot of those teams, West Coast teams, are going to the tight end, hybrid tight end / offensive lineman, you know, because none of those guys really catch out of the backfield anymore. It's more of a blocking field. They're not used as a weapon, like as a fullback. And I think some of the teams that you find that still get to the Super Bowl, like your Niners, or get into the playoffs like the Niners, Packers, you know, teams like that are just traditionally West Coast offenses, are going to have a fullback. They're going to have a short yardage guy. So, but as far as the league is concerned, oh man, it's going to be, you know, it's going to be some tough going for running backs for a minute until the mentality gets back to, this is my guy. He's my number one running back. He's going to get in. He's going to tote the load. I'm not going to worry about wasting any money or, you know, having anybody behind him that I'm spending money on. This is the guy. And I don't know when we get back to that, but I'm looking forward to getting back to that.
I think one of the potential solutions, they have to work out a situation where they view running backs different from quarterbacks with rookie deals, because quarterbacks obviously get paid the most handsomely. I think it's only right that you shorten the length of rookie deals for running backs. I think that in itself could potentially help a bit. One of my co-hosts, who unfortunately can't be here today, first day of school for his children tomorrow, Mike Zappi, has a question for you. Between your collegiate and professional career, who was the one defensive end or linebacker you did not look forward to going to have to block?
Wow, man, there's so many great players. Man, you talk about defensive ends. I didn't really have a whole lot. I mean, I have to go in and just cut the, you know, leg of the defensive end. You know, it was never really a deal where I had to go out and just, you know, battle with the defensive end. But man, I would say that I played with, you know, my rookie season with the best, you know, 4 of the best, and was able to see them get their work in practice. So, you know, I had to go against them every day. And I think that, you know what, when I look at it, I've truly been blessed. You know, when people ask me, like, you know, who was the best defense I played against in college? You know, I played against the best defense every day in practice. You know, we literally had the number one defense in the country going against the number one offense in the country. I think the same thing is true with the Niners is, you know, we had so many great players. I'm going against Hall of Famers every day in practice. So when I got to the game, you know, it was like, okay, this guy's, you know, I got to go ahead and make sure I get this done, because I'm going against the best ever, some of the best ever in practice every day.
Yeah, it had to be amazing, especially for being such a young player, that you get immersed in a championship culture. Because one thing about the 49ers, when you track it back to when Montana got injured, bring in Steve Young, they didn't miss a beat in terms of player evaluations or how they kept the boat running. I mean, for the most part, they were right back in the mix in the Steve Young era. And obviously Jerry Rice was there. You had some great veterans to be alongside you and teach you how the pros do. And I think that's a hell of a blessing for any young player. I mean, well, look at it. Look at the guys that came in that year and how successful we were, because we got to practice with those guys. Myself coming in as a rookie, Bryant Young, who just went into the Hall of Fame last year, Kevin Mitchell, that was a linebacker from Syracuse that we lost, was an amazing player. Tyrone Drayford, you know, Doug Bryant was our kicker that season of rookie. You know, so I mean, our whole class, it was like we had no other choice
but to come in and be, what we were, because we had all these great players teaching us the right thing to do, the 49er way.
For sure. Well said. I myself did have another question for you. I think this is probably one that you had to have heard over the years. You guys won the national title in '93. Your quarterback won the Heisman, talking about former New York Knicks Charlie Ward. Were you taken back when your college quarterback, who won the prestigious Heisman, actually chose the NBA over the NFL?
No, I was not. I was not surprised at all because, going through that process, we were both in the same draft class, and his thing was, look, if I'm going to turn down basketball, I need to know that a team in the NFL is going to be committed to choosing me in the first round. And that didn't happen. So he had to do what was the best for him. He went and played basketball, was a first round, pick.
As a Knicks fan, I loved watching him play. He's one of my favorite Knicks.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of the greatest leaders you could ever think of. That's why you think the football players love him. The basketball players during that time love him. Bobby Sewell, Sam Cassell, Rodney Dobar, some of these guys that went on to have great NBA careers. I think Sam Cassell won back-to-back NBA
finals,
championships with the Rockets.
Yeah.
The wound is still open, sir. I'm a Knicks fan. They caught us in 7 games. That still hurts. We have not been.
We're Knicks fans, so
Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's just talks about the type of player he is. So, I think he would have been just as successful in the NFL as he was in the NBA. But yeah, I was not surprised at all when that happened, when Charlie chose basketball over football. Football didn't commit to him, and he didn't want to commit to football, so he chose basketball. I'm
going to pass it to your buddy, Brett, on the bottom, and then I'm going to pass it back to Idris. Because just in case Brett cuts out, he's in the car. Brett, you had a question for William regarding practices. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, first, I want to say thanks for coming on, bar none. Pleasure having you on, man. We've been looking forward to this for a long time.
Yep.
I know you're a busy man. You're a family guy. You're a very humble dude. And once again, I just want to say thank you for coming on. This is making our day. My first question, you had the privilege of playing with two of the GOATs. You had your Deion Primetime and you had, your Jerry Rice. What was it like seeing these two guys battle it out in practice and making each other great? I mean, Grant, you know what I mean? Like, I know they on the field, game time, it's different, but it's almost kind of similar to what Sauce Gardner and what Garrett Wilson are doing with each other right now in Jets camp. They're making each other great. I mean, what was it like watching these guys practice, man? Just the, competitive nature of both these Hall of Famers.
Well, I think the old adage is true. Iron sharpens iron, right? So when those guys are going against each other in practice, everybody else is looking at it, because they know these are the two best football players on the field, basically. So
Shout out Mike Zappy.
You're looking at the two best football. Really, you're talking about the best. You're talking about two of the best football players in the NFL at that time. You know what I mean? Not just on our team. You're talking about two of the best in the league. So being able to watch them compete against each other, and like I said, they're just basically sharpening each other's skills, was amazing. But the great thing about it too with those two guys was it was what they were doing when they were not on the field. I'd be chilling out. Everybody's tired. We went through a 20-play segment. Everybody, you got to finish the play in the night of practice. You can't not finish the play and get through the end zone. So you're running 40, 50 times every time you get the ball in your hands. But it was what those guys were doing when they were not on the field. Like when officers on the field doing their thing, you see Deion on the side kind of doing like a little back pedal and kind of just focused in on how he was going to turn his shoulders. And, you could just see some of the techniques that he was doing by himself. Then Jerry, he'd be making us look bad. You hear something in the corner. Just his feet pattern. You look over, he's running routes by himself over in the corner. And I'm like, man, Jerry, sit down here embarrassing the hell out of us, man. I'm tired. The guy never got tired. And that's the whole thing about it. So, yeah, them competing against each other and looking at them do that was great. But it was the individual things that they did by themselves when nobody was looking at it, or they didn't care if anybody was looking. They were going to get their extra work in. That made them Hall of Famers, I think.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing.
That's good.
No, that truly is. Idris, I know you have something for William, and then I'm going to hit up Shed and then bring back Zappy's questions.
I want to take it back to the huddle, the play calling. Like, do you remember any of the calls you had in the offense on the field? And if so, how did you know what play like if you say I'm just throwing some like 12, 25, 8, the call. How did you know what part of the play was meant for you and what for you to do? Like where the block run.
The blessing I had was, I had all those great offensive players that wanted me to be a part of it. So they're making sure I knew where I was. Stevie tell me where to be on the field sometimes. If I'm in the wrong place, he get me in the right place. But once you really get into that offense, we were taught by one of the greatest maestros ever. His son is now the head coach of the 49ers. Mike Shanahan was my offensive coordinator. And he always made sure we go through practice on the field, like on film, right before we went out, and we do the same thing the night before the game. So we go over and over and over and over and over and over and you know what I mean? So it was just repetition on top of repetition.
Kind of dream about it by the time you hit the bed.
Exactly. It's like, I gotta do it. 25 series. I gotta be on the left side. I gotta go cut the defensive end. Double goal. I gotta go over here. I gotta check the linebacker. Check the.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
So it was basically like going through. I would say it was just the repetition that year of just going through it.
Yeah.
And after that, I think I got in trouble in Carolina one time because I told the coordinator. I threw my only interception ever in the NFL. My only pass in the NFL playing for the Panthers.
Yeah.
I throw an interception.
I remember that. I remember that.
Don't feel bad. Brett Favre's first pass was an interception too.
Oh shoot! So anyway, I'm like, okay, if I was in San Francisco, that wouldn't have happened. I would have knew I was supposed to be where I was supposed to throw the ball.
Oh, that's funny.
And that right there, I think rubbed him the wrong way. So I didn't see the ball a whole lot after that in my Panther career.
But you know what? The funny thing about that interception, and because I'm in Carolina now, and so I see. I remember when you got it, and I was like, "This ain't gonna go right." Because the way you rolled, I was like, "Uh-oh!" And when it left your hands, I was like,
because I was throwing the ball to Fred Lane, man, and in practice.
Rest in peace, Fred Lane. Yeah.
Rest in peace, Fred Lane.
I'm thinking, okay, he's gonna be on the whip. He started doing all this zigzag, and I'm like,
he started doing,
I'm just gonna try to put the ball where I think he's gonna be. Interception.
I remember that. I was like, oh man,
No more attempts for me.
Man, don't even blame yourself, man. Why are they making a fullback throw the football? That's all kinds of wrong.
Right. It
worked and looked so good in practice, man. I'm telling you, man. Every time it worked.
You got Eaters crying over here, man.
I got myself crying.
I remember the play. That's why. I remember that play, man.
Yeah. I was like, Wesley, where are y'all? I was talking to Wesley Walls. I was like, man, y'all ain't have nobody else to talk to, man. I had to throw it in there.
I haven't heard that name in a while.
Oh, man. That's hilarious. Man.
Welcome to the show, Zappy. Glad you're able to make it. Shed, I know you have a question or two. You are a resident 49er fan. Have at it.
Yes, sir. So, William, which players were the most competitive on all the teams that you played? You probably already answered it by Jerry and Dion, but.
Oh, man. Well, in college, it was me and Marvin Jones going at it. Played for the Jets for 12 years. Derek Brooks played for the Bucks Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah.
Players like that. I was always more of a linebacker. I was always going up against linebacker. So, that was my whole thing. I wanted to be able to defeat, go and look at film on Monday, and whoever my guy was that I had responsibility for, I took care of that. So, I mean, if you're talking about pros, again, going against Ken North Jr. every day in practice, Gary Plummer every day in practice, Lee Woodall every day in practice. So I was blessed that most of the guys that I consider guys that I had to battle against were right in practice with me. Of course, going up against a 300-pound linebacker in LeVon Kirkland. You know what I mean? You remember stuff like that. But other than that, I mean, really look throughout the game, I felt like most of my competition was always in practice. I mean, going up against Ray Lulu, I win some, he wins some. It's that type of deal. But the whole thing in football is to win more than you lose.
Right.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Great.
So did you have like a best friend on the 49ers like that you kind of roomed with hung out with after hours or?
Well, okay, so it's a few different things. So I think I got really tight with Eddie McCaffrey because he was at that time just a kid trying to make the team. I was a week late in the camp because, my agent said he felt like I was the best fullback in the NFL, bar none. So that held me out of camp.
Your agent was right, sir. Your agent was right.
Yeah, he was right. He was right.
I'll give him love on that. But yeah, so what happened is it made me a week late in the camp, and of course Eddie was getting in, so I think he hadn't got a roommate yet. So me and him talked about our dreams and aspirations of, you know, making the team and trying to be great and trying to contribute to the Niners. So that was like the first person I bonded with when I got there. And then right after, of course, my running back mate, Ricky Waters, took me under his wing, and that's who I would hang with off the field most of the time. And then Brian Young was right there with me. We lived probably about a quarter mile from each other in Redwood City. We both moved in there together, as rookies. So we became close and tight, and still to this day, you know, I was able to go to his Hall of Fame and watch him go in. And you know, when he went in, it was like I was going in. So it was that was a lot of fun being able to do that. So yeah,
got to be a great feeling. Your brothers on the gridiron getting enshrined. Zappy, I know that you were typing some on the comments. Question for William.
Yeah, well, first of all, Mr. Floyd, I just want to say thank you very much for the opportunity. You know, it is a pleasure having a former NFL grade, Super Bowl winner, NCAA college football winner come on. So, but I actually have a couple of questions. One of them is a two-part question. I will start with this one. So growing up as a child, at what point did you realize that the possibility of playing at the collegiate level or even let alone playing in the NFL was a possibility? Was there a certain coach that brought that light to you, or what was it that made that drove you to say, hey, I'm going to play college football?
I think it was just football in general, just having the dreams and aspirations to make it through the NFL. And of course, to do that, you got to go through college. You know, in football, you know, other sports, you may be able to go from high school into that professional sport, but you know, for college, you got to go get in at least 1 year. Back then it was more. To have an opportunity playing in the NFL. And I think my mom, you know, God bless her, love you, Mom, miss you. She used to always tell me, like, boy, you used to tell me ever since you were 9 years old, you were going to play in the NFL. So it was just something that I'd always had in my mind, always stuck in my mind. And that was like, I was going to do whatever it took to make it to the NFL. And what is that? That's staying out of trouble. That's trying to, you know, stay in school, get the grades to be able to even get into college, get to college, sustain yourself, get a degree, you know, and try to be the best football player you can be. And for me, I was blessed to have the greatest college coach of all time as not only a coach, but a mentor and a father figure. So, and Bobby Bowden. So everything just kind of worked out. But I would think ever since my mom said, ever since I was 9 years old, I was talking about playing in the NFL. So I'd imagine it was just, you know, me wanting to be a part of something, because to tell you the truth, fellas, and I don't tell many people this, I was a Cowboy fan growing up. Like I was.
Oh man.
No, I had to say that.
Okay, show's over.
Let me pull it back around. Let me bring it back around full circle. So me and Dwight used to talk about this all the time because I never forget. It was 82. I was standing up here in the projects, and I had this mushroom chair. I don't know if you remember this old school mushroom chair back in the day.
Yes, I remember. Yeah,
jumping over it. Yeah, so I'd be jumping over it, trying to tackle it. So I'm in that room one day, and I see Dwight catch the catch, and the Jeffrey Osborne song comes on. I'll never forget it. It's like I did, but I guess my best wasn't good enough. So then I come back and I was like, you know what? I think I can start liking this 49er team, man. They beat my dang Cowboys. I don't know this. I think I can get it. And then it got to the point where I got into college. I got FS, and I'm, that's garnet and gold. And then SF when you come to San Francisco. So it's like the more I got into getting to where I wanted to play for a professional team, it was like, man, I would love to play for the Niners. They run the same offense, and I think that's the reason that. They chose so many guys from Florida State because before me, they picked Dexter Carter in the first round and Amp Lee. And both of those are running backs in the same system in Tallahassee that I was. So we ran the same exact offense. So when I got to the Niners, it was just basically learning the terminology, learning the terminologies of what we were doing. So by that time, man, it was like, man, I'm Niner to end. So I was talking, you can't be mad with a little kid, an 8-9-year-old now. But I did flip it back around when I got up to college,
Okay.
man. I knew I wanted to be a part of it. And you know what was kind of funny,
Okay.
too? Last piece of that story. So when I was talking to Dwight, we were talking about that and the catch and all that stuff before, I knew they were going to draft me. We were up at the combine. And I was like, hey, man, I say 4'4", getting a little older, man. I say, I think I could come in there and help y'all get some things done. And he kind of gave me this look, like an up and down look, and was like, all right, Phil, I'm going to see what you're talking about. So I think that night he must have went and looked at film because he asked me, he was like, what do you think your best college game was? I said, Clemson. And I fumbled 2 times in that game, but I was crushing people. I mean, I'm talking about, I was putting people on their back. Like Briston Buckner was like their premier defensive lineman at that time. I was taking it to him. So anyway, long story short, I had 2 fumbles, but that was like really my best game blocking and knocking guys apart. And I think once he saw me play against his alma mater, it was like, yeah, we can get bar none. It wasn't bar none then. It wasn't bar none. It was just old William then.
So William, you switched from the Cowboys to the 49ers because you like to be a winner. I get it.
Exactly.
We can roll with that. We can accept that. We can accept that.
I get it.
But that was a 9-year-old, 8-year-old William now.
Yeah, okay.
See, I'm at peace with all this because Cowboys and 49ers definitely took some serious shots at each other in the 90s as well as the 70s going into the 80s. My New York Giants had to pretty much go through every 49er team that was really good in the other eras that didn't include yours because we were pretty bad when you guys were good. So I'm at peace with it because we have a nice, rich rivalry in our own right. We kind of expedited the Steve Young era because of the unfortunate injury to Joe Montana. That was brutal. That nothing dirty about the hit, but it was brutal. And it obviously, you fast forward a couple of years later, you're in the mix now. You're a part of that 49er organization. Zappy's Cowboys, we know the story. I mean, in my opinion, that was the Super Bowl in the 90s for a little while there. Whoever won that game was going to probably knock down the AFC. And when Buffalo loses 4 in a row, they're not, it's hard to believe in that conference at that point.
Yeah, we felt like if we came out of the NFC, whoever we played in the Super Bowl was not going to be able to keep. Not at that time,
No.
Changed now, but at that time, the NFC was just so much more dominant than the AFC was. And of course, Buffalo going there, that tells you, Buffalo goes 4 times in a row. So they're the best on that side, and they couldn't get it done, and I feel sorry for a lot of those guys, man, because there was some great players. I would love to see JK, with a Super Bowl, man.
Yeah, he's a wonderful human being.
Thomas, Bruce Smith, a lot of friends with a lot of those guys. Biscuit, Cornelius Bennett.
Cornelius Bennett, yep.
Yeah, that whole team, and Daryl Talley's right here down the road, so that whole team, I got a lot of love for them. But it's kind of crazy when you look at rivalries like that. It's kind of the same thing in college because, during the time I was in college, the national championship came through the state of Florida. It was either going to be us, Miami, and maybe Florida slipping in the back end to make some noise as far as the national championship picture is concerned. So we despise those guys, man, in college. But it's funny now. All I've gotten, I'm cool with Michael, Mike Irvin. Cool with Sapp, Edge. Like all those guys from that era. We all talk about, man. He's like, man, all y'all needed was a kicker. Y'all probably could have snuck one of those games.
That's all you need. Yeah.
I was there for both wide rights. So we bond a little bit more. And the same thing with the Cowboys, man. Now again, as I said, Mike. Emmy's on that squad. Of course, Prime and I have a relationship, through Florida State and went out the Niners together. So yeah, man, it kind of ties in. Everything kind of ties back in at the end, especially when you get old enough and you start appreciating the battles that you had with those guys and success that everybody's had and the era of football. I think that was one of the greatest eras of football ever.
I can't agree anymore. I mean, you get flagged now for farting on a quarterback. You know what I'm saying?
Man, like the game has changed so much. Like I would literally probably get fined every week the way I was taught to play football because I was always taught to put the crown of my head on their chin strap, and that's what I tried to do.
Right the chin strap.
Yep.
It's funny because I went to a Florida State game. I was dating someone. She's a Florida State fan, and I just happened to get an autograph by Bobby Bowden. I wasn't a fan, but I was a Charlie Ward fan because I loved that offense y'all ran down there was crazy, and I kind of rooted for Florida State because I like Lavernius Coles, Warwick,
Yeah.
I mean, that squad was just insane. And he came by, and I said, "Yo, can I get your autograph?" He said, "You know how your coach was." He's like, "Yeah." And I was like,
buddy,
I was more excited.
How your family doing?
Yeah, exactly. And I was more excited than she was, because I was like, you know, she looked at me like, "Wow." I said, "You don't know who that is?" She said, "Yeah," but I said, "You just don't." And I still got that sweatshirt. She gave it to me because she's like, "It's just a sweatshirt. You don't know who that guy is."
That's right.
Yeah,
Good man.
but
I had an ex
I
that
love me
attended
some Bobby
FSU
Bowden.
as well, and as an
Yeah.
Irish fan, I was brave enough.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was brave
But it's
enough
okay.
to
I
wear my
always tell
Navy.
Brian, I was like, y'all are represented on our national championship ring. Y'all are on there. Y'all are that one on the side of that 12 or 13. I think we're 13-1, whatever it was that year. But
Yeah.
Notre Dame is represented on the ring. They're the one on our national championship ring.
It's not their fault.
Yeah.
It's not your fault. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get the rematch that I think we deserved as fans because the BCS didn't exist yet.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, the way I look at it is, after they pull off, in my opinion, an upset, because I do think you guys had a more talented roster. That's me being humble. They go and lose to my favorite NFL team's coach, Tom Coughlin. They beat us in South Bend. That was the thing, buddy. Losing in South Bend is what really did it, because
That's exactly what did it.
Your one blemish was on the road, so it's a little more forgivable when you had no other hiccups. So, to be honest with you, looking at it this far, many years removed, I think they got it right, even though I was a little pissed. I wanted to get another crack. But, those are the breaks.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, it was kind of, we were looking forward to that because our whole mentality is we want to go from wire to wire. So we wanted to rematch against the team that knocked us off, because we felt like on that last drive, we felt like we had 10 more seconds on that last drive. You know, if we would have had an opportunity to pull that game out.
Oh, believe me, I was counting the clock. I was nervous.
Yeah,
and this
we
is like,
we competed, and I think that's what helped us stay up as high as we did, because we went down and drove down at the end of the game.
Yes,
just
sir.
Ran out of time. I mean,
12-year-old Richie was very nervous.
Yeah,
I was happy though, because I couldn't stand Notre Dame, so I was like, "Come on!"
I think we were just too confident, man. That game we went up there, we had on our green Florida State hats with the clover on it. We just knew that we were gonna win that game, man. So. But it humbled us, and they got us ready to play for the national. Play Florida the next week. Actually, we played North Carolina State after that, and we had to show what our mentality was. Man, we got to show the nation why we're supposed to be back out there playing in the national championship. So we go out there, and we get to the dorm just as that, they're on that drive. We get in the dorm, everybody turns on their TV. It's like one play, and then they run the kicker, the punter out, and he boots that thing through there, man, and our dorm goes crazy. I mean, like, you would think that we just won the national championship the way the dorm was just rocking. We went out that night, we were like, the whole mentality was, hey, man, we have to show everybody in the nation why we're supposed to be back in this game. And so we go out and cream North Carolina State like 62-0 or something crazy.
Yeah, that was a big statement. That was a huge statement. And I did want to transition this for a second, William. I know that you are very much involved with the university now. I see you on the tube from time to time. Quarterback Jordan Travis just missing 3,500 last year. Trey Benson just missing 1,000 on the ground, 9 TDs. You did have someone hit the transfer portal in Trayshawn Ward. But when I look at what you guys have going, not just for this particular year, where obviously the aspiration is to try to finish in the top 4, get a crack at the big title, but you guys are loaded at the quarterback position for years to come. And I think that the program is in a very good place. And we're not even talking about the two-headed monster you guys have at defensive end. I mean, Florida State right now, things are looking very healthy for the immediate future. Yeah,
and what I have to tell the young man, and I get an opportunity. My son's on the team. He's a redshirt junior playing safety. So I get a little bit of, recon and insight from him. But what I try to tell him, and when I talk to most of the guys, because I've seen every career that came through Florida State since 2008. That's when I started on the radio. And what I tell them is don't read your own hype. Don't read your own press. Don't start buying into everybody saying how great you are. Because that's what can happen. You're great off the field. You're great on paper. But at the end of the day, man, you got to go out there and compete, execute, and get it done on the field. And nobody cares about anything else but W's. So just, everybody's talking about how great you are. You're Jordan, you're up for the Heisman. Verse, you're up for the Lombardi buckets. You have so many, kids up for different national awards. The key is don't start reading your own press and believe in the hype. You still got to go out there and get it done. And as a team, if you trust yourself, you have trust, energy, aspirations, and motivations, man, you're going to win championships. So that's my, message to them. We got a great, great football team. We just got to go get it done on the field now.
Awesome.
And to piggyback off of that, with the information you were giving your son, and as well as trying to tell this to other players, as we live in the world of technology where it's all around us, all the criticism that's coming from all directions, and we talk about the devaluation of the running back position, how do you put this into these kids' heads to stay off of social media? And secondly, do you think with the devaluation of the running back position, this is affecting everything like players deciding to change their position from wide receiver to running back, as well as, with the NIL deals? Is this affecting? I mean, we're seeing a lot happen in the NFL and college football right now. So how do we go about this? What are things that you would recommend to these players to kind of keep away from all of that?
Well, the first off is, know what your goals are. What's your main goal when you go to college? You're a student athlete, right? So the first thing that should be important to you is going in there and getting that degree. I know my mom was ecstatic, when I came back to get my degree. I always say I went on a 17-year plan, but I got it done. I left early as a junior in the 94 draft. 94. So from that standpoint, I had to, make it happen a little early. These young men, I just tell them, if I would just tell them, as far as social media is concerned, know what you're there for. You're there to get a degree, and you're there to get an NFL, to go to the NFL. And that's just the reality of it. I talked to Coach Bowden about it then. Everybody calls him the saint. I call him the prophet, because everything he told me came true. He said, William, you're going to help me win my first national championship. You're going to get your degree, and you're going to play in the NFL. And all that came true. So I think it has to be a goal as the individual saying, this is what I came here to do. There's going to be plenty of time to get on social media, party, that part of it, because I try to tell them the life expectancy of football is really relatively short. You think about college, and I talked to my son about it, man. It seems just like yesterday that you're in high school. Yeah, Dad, man, I'm in my fourth year, and I'm going to my fourth year, and it went so fast. So from that standpoint, know why you're there in school. There's no way outside of social media, man. I don't know, unless you just throw your phone in the trash. Yeah. Unless you just refuse to look at.
They're one of them old school right. Nokias that you can take to the middle of West Virginia if you want to go find a cabin or something.
That's what I'm saying, man. There's no way to get away. So the only thing, you got to be disciplined enough to put that phone down, and then you can't be concerned about what other people say about you. That's what I'm. Right. Social media is so caught up in what do other people think about me. Exactly. And it's like I always tell, I just block it out. I mean, I don't read comments. I don't get caught up in all that. I got my little IG. I'll throw a few pictures on there every once in a while. But and then this kind of switches to more what you're saying as far as the NIL and the way the landscape of college football is changing, the devaluation of the running back. It was kind of fun, and I still haven't got on these guys yet because I want to see them when I get to Tallahassee. But we've been having this Mount Rushmore of positions at Florida State. So what do? They lump me in with the running back. And I'm thinking to myself, hold on. Tailback and fullback are two different positions. How do I just get logged in with the running back? So, of course, I'm not going to be, considered one of the greatest running backs in Florida State history, tailback history, but I'm definitely number one fullback to come out of there. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
Your draft position speaks volumes on it. And as I stated when I was introducing you to our viewers, you're the first rookie to do that, to score 3 touchdowns in one game.
Yeah, I mean, it was a blessing. No doubt.
Now you tell your son don't read the headlines, but you can hear about yours because your time has already come. So you can hear about this. This is throwing the roses. That's what that is. But we appreciate you. And I got news for you, man. I'm a diehard Giant fan, but first and foremost, I'm a diehard fan of the sport. And I want to say, as someone who admires players who do things the right way, I was always a fan of yours because, quite frankly, I felt that you always gave 100, and I always felt that you played with your heart. And I think there's something to be said about that.
Thank you. I appreciate that, bro.
definitely in my top 10 of fullbacks of all time.
Yeah.
I'm
Hey, bar
talking
none.
Matsui, Lorenzo Neal. I mean,
O'Neal.
you're up there. Yeah, with that big fat neck he had.
That's a good song, man.
He had that. He used to
That's
collar,
what I
yeah.
call Mike Allstar. That's what we call each other.
Bar
Sporty. I
none.
go to his golf. I just gave him his golf tournament a couple months back.
Oh man.
So O'Neal was in
Oh
there.
man.
Might make sure he gets the fullbacks in there. No doubt.
One request, William, if
Bar none.
you gotta go.
Hey,
No,
bar
no.
none. I got a question for him before I go and I run Jimmy Carroll's business. First off, thank you for the Randy Moss helmet. You didn't have to do that. That was unbelievable, and it's a blessing. Like I said, going back to the beginning, you're a humble guy, family guy, and I appreciate that. That is one of the hugest gestures I've ever gotten from anybody. Secondly, you're back in Orlando this week. When are you coming out to dinner, man? Are you coming out to dinner to homecoming this week? Are you bringing the family in?
Yeah, well, I'm going to be out there, in the area this weekend, but it's going to be more of a Florida State, kind of get-together deal. So maybe I'll get a chance to come over and say hi.
Very cool.
Uh-oh.
You got to.
Cool,
I got to see you, man. I got to see you.
No doubt.
William,
I got to see you.
One more question. I'm going to listen to this one. William, I got one more question for you. I'm going to listen to this one off air as I got to get going. Dallas Cowboys, Notre Dame Fighting Irish, Florida Gators, Miami Hurricanes. Which game really got the blood flowing? And which one did you really put all the extra film time into when you were facing one of those teams? And again, William, it has been a pleasure to talk to you.
My pleasure too. But yeah, man, you hit 4 teams right there, bro. There is no way to stop the bubble juices from starting in those games. You cannot not to get hyped up about the Dallas Cowboys or Florida Gators. What? Miami Hurricanes?
Yeah, that's
oh man,
right.
those are the rivals of my career. Like when you talk about college football, it's always been the state of Florida because usually all of us been playing against each other ever since we were 9 years old in Pop Warner anyway.
Right.
Then we go through high school playing against each other. Then we go through college playing against each other. Because back then you couldn't get a kid out of the state of Florida. You either gonna go to Miami, Florida, or Florida State. You wasn't leaving Florida to go play football nowhere else.
That's right.
Got that
That's
right.
right.
Got that right.
All the coaches that found out a way to get us out of Florida, to get these young men out of Florida. We don't usually go too far past Texas. I don't know if we made out to California, a whole bunch of Florida guys, but yeah, you can get guys out of Florida now, and I think that's making all the difference in some of these programs.
I got a question about you being drafted.
No, you first. You first.
I got a question about you being drafted. How soon did you know that you were going to be picked where you were in the first round? How did you know? Like, did you know prior, or did you know just that night?
I knew, like, you talking about the actual pick that I knew when I knew I was going to get picked by the Niners?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot, man. That didn't happen. Like, okay, here's the story on that. I'm sitting in the house all day. First, they seen this letter, from the NFL. Hey, you're projected to go in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft. Okay, cool. The whole time I thought I was going to camp. First, I thought I was going to Pittsburgh at 17, but they did a draft day deal for John L. Williams. So that took me out of that. So the next pick was supposed to be, Coach Reeves came to Tallahassee to work me out. So then the next one was Kansas City because Coach Reeves was head coach of Kansas City at that time. That didn't happen. That pick went by. So I went back in the bed. I'm laying down sick, man. I'm like, dang, man, I'm getting ready to fall asleep. My mom come back. The baby, come on up here with us. So by the time I get up there, they're talking about some 49er-onomics or something like that on TV. And, because that's when we were the masters of the cap.
You got that right.
Carmen Policy did his thing, man, and put that cap together in the right kind of way to bring in all that talent. So I'm laying down again, and then I go back up there, and I'm kind of just moping, and Tagliabue comes up there. He says, with the 28th pick of the first round, the San Francisco 49ers select running back from Florida State, William Floyd.
That'd be so cool.
One phone I'm talking to Carmen Policy, the other phone I'm talking to George Seifert, and I'm like, like, okay, we're flying you to San Francisco in the morning, so get yourself together, get right. I can't wait. I'm going to the airport right now, so I don't miss the plane. I was gonna be in the airport the day before, so I didn't miss the plane going out there, man.
I gotta say this.
Oh, that's crazy.
My late father was, New York City police officer. Loved his football. He coached us when we were little. And I gotta say, man, you and your guys made him a lot of money. His partner was a Peruvian dude named Hector, diehard Charger fan, the only one I ever knew, because I didn't know they really existed like that, especially in New York. This guy's coming up the step with his powder blue Charger jacket that he probably had when he was 13, because that dude was swole, so I don't even know how he had that on. He's coming up the stairs. My father's like, hands him a shot when he walks in. He's like, what, bro? He's like, look, Jerry Rice already dancing in the end zone. That had to be.
That wasn't even a Super Bowl.
Nah, bro.
The Niners just
we already
that was
knew
a scrimmage, man.
Because my pops met you guys in the beginning of the year, so he made a lot of money. So you guys are responsible for a couple of family vacations. Thank you.
Yeah, no, and it was crazy about that. What was funny about that one was that was crazy. When we saw Jerry go in the first second play of the game, we knew it was gonna be over. But the thing was, we like, there's no way we lose to these guys, and we just smashed them 3 weeks ago.
Yes, I recall that.
That.
That was definitely a David versus Goliath, because I think revisiting that juncture of football, it was essentially once you guys got past the Niners and the Cowboys. And I think there's two specific things that happened. Number one, they drafted you, because when the teams that were marching out were very similar to the 2 previous years. I've said this to Zappy, he's not here right now, but I've told him numerous times, I think Deion Sanders meant so much more to you guys than he could have ever meant for the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. When he came in that year, they changed the entire defensive philosophy and basically rolled coverage away from Prime. Prime had man-to-man all the time. Everybody was already scared of him. Nobody really wanted to throw his way anyway. Then when you forced to throw his way, he'd make a play on you. So that's what he was able to do, is lock down an entire side of the field, and basically everybody else on defense just rolled and played the other side of the field.
I had the pleasure of watching him as a New York Yankee, because my father took me to a game where Bo and him had an amazing play together. But when you hear those two names, you assume football. Deion hit it inside the park home run, and Bo was trying to make a ridiculous catch in center and just barely missed it. But he always had a flair for the dramatic that I noticed about Deion. And what I think is crazy is, like, I remember a game when him and his former teammate, competitive juices kind of flowing, him and Andre Rison, they were throwing hands. And this is the era in the NFL where, they kind of had a little more leeway with how much you guys could get away with in terms of, like, battling each other like that. Fast forward to a little bit later in the game, Deion's doing his famous dance down the sideline in the ATL. So I always thought that was like, that personifies him as a player, because I feel that the bigger the moment, he was always ready to make the next play. And I think that's what separates very good from very great.
Prime time.
Yes, sir.
All you need to say.
William,
I got one question.
Go ahead.
Let me ask one question. Merton Hanks.
Yes.
Did he practice the dance in practice?
No, I don't think he can do that, because he did it. He almost broke his neck in the game one time.
And listen, that was quite a neck. That was quite a neck. And then
he had a neck too.
Yeah,
they
were saying the big.
Yeah, the helmet, exactly. So that's why I made it like he was the original human bobblehead or something, man.
That looked like one of those mini helmets that end up in the man cave.
That's what I wanted to know.
William, it's truly been a pleasure. I know that a few errands want to run, so I wanted to consider your time. It was an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I just have one small request. If you wouldn't mind, please subscribe to my channel. We are on YouTube, the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Pod. And please share the show. I can directly send it to you when we're done here. Nothing short of a pleasure, sir. And I want you to know,
man, it was fun.
You are always welcome to come back.
Thank you. My pleasure, fellas. Have a good one. God bless.
We loved it, man. We loved it.
This was a lot of fun, man. Have a great rest of your day, William. Maybe I'll
Thanks,
check
William.
you out at Arts too. I check him out every once in a while. Maybe we go the same night. Take care, buddy.
All right, man.